Coming up today on the Nick Craig Show, new details in an officer-involved shooting that took place in downtown Wilmington over the weekend, plus a family's reaction to their son's death. We'll have all the details coming up. And a good Thursday morning to you. Welcome into the Nick Craig Show, streaming live this morning on YouTube, Rumble, X, and Facebook. Don't forget that you can take the show with you 24/7 on demand in your favorite podcast app by searching for the Nick Craig Show. You can also listen online by visiting the website nickcraig.com. Our program this morning is brought to you by Melissa Gott and her team over at the Law Group. Visit them online, lawgroupnc.com, or give them a call, 910-251-6088. We'll hear more from them coming up a little bit later on in the program this morning. If you were with us on Monday, we were keeping an eye on, unfortunately, what was a deadly weekend across downtown Wilmington as two different instances took place in which two different people were killed. One, an officer-involved shooting in the very busy parking deck there on Market Street, right next to Slice of Life, for those that are familiar with downtown Wilmington, and then another shooting a couple of blocks away from that, unrelated. We've got some details this morning on that officer-involved shooting as the State Bureau of Investigations is now involved. I will note that this is this is mandated practice across the state of North Carolina. Anytime that you've got a sheriff or a city police officer, any sort of law enforcement officer that discharges their firearm, shoots and kills somebody, the State Bureau of Investigation, the SBI, investigates. The officers are placed on administrative leave, and the investigation takes place from the state standpoint. That is how this process plays out here in North Carolina. We do know this morning the identity of the victim, a 21-year-old Edibero Espinoza Sierra, is the individual who was killed by law enforcement on Sunday, very early Sunday morning, right around 3 o'clock in downtown Wilmington. According to the WPD, the Wilmington Police Department, Sierra was shot and killed by law enforcement for allegedly posing a threat to officers and civilians. According to the SBI, all officers involved in the shooting did have body cameras, which the agency has obtained footage for. I will note, we are not going to see this footage, at least as of right now, while there's this ongoing SBI investigation. I talked to an attorney yesterday who specializes in this stuff about what's the process of getting access to this footage, and he very clearly told me that while the SBI is involved, this will not be released no matter how many media outlets petition for the footage or ask for it to be released. It's not going to happen while the SBI investigation is ongoing, with the State Bureau of Investigation saying that the investigation cannot be fully concluded until autopsies are finished, a process that is expected to take 6 to 9 months because of a backlog. So this is a problem within the Attorney General's office. This is a problem that needs to be handled by Jeff Jackson, previous Attorney General Josh Stein, who's now the governor. There should not be a 6 to 9 month backlog within the SBI, which falls under the Department of Justice, falls under Democrat Jeff Jackson. That is a major problem. You know, we're going to hear from the family coming up here in a little bit, and they're asking for justice. We'll get into all of that. It should not be 6 to 9 months to investigate an officer-involved shooting. That is a problem. This is something that needs to be addressed by the Democrat governor and the Democrat attorney general. This is not the first time that we have been here in North Carolina talking about big-time backlogs within the Department of Justice. You can look at Roy Cooper's tenure as the AG, thousands of untested rape kits sitting on shelves while he was the attorney general, major backlog. To Josh Stein's credit, he did do a pretty good job at cleaning that process up and getting those kits tested. So he did a good job with that, at least in some respects. But now you've got a major backlog, 6 to 9 months, which I will argue is completely unacceptable. A little bit of background as to how we got here. The Wilmington Police Department said that the shooting happened around 3:15 Sunday morning when officers with the WPD task force and deputies from the New Hanover County Sheriff's Office heard gunfire in the 100 block of Market Street. Officials shared that law enforcement responded to that parking deck right there at Market and 2nd, where they found a man suffering from a gunshot wound. According to WPD, EMS took that victim, whose name we still do not know, to New Hanover Regional Medical Center with serious injuries. WPD said witnesses directed officers towards a possible suspect. Officers approached a nearby vehicle, detained several men without incident, and WPD said that a second vehicle matching a suspect's description was also located. When officers tried to make contact with the driver of the second vehicle, who has now been identified as a 21-year-old Sierra, he refused to comply and continued moving the vehicle forward. The police department says that Sierra then accelerated, hitting another vehicle and moving towards several officers. And fortunately, we do have some new footage in this morning from WECT News. A viewer of theirs, or a community member, submitted a video, sent video to WECT showing this situation that unfolded. And we're going to play the video for those listening on the audio version of the podcast. I'll do my best to describe it. I'll encourage you to check out just this little clip on our video version of the show that's available on YouTube, Rumble, X, and Facebook. It shows very clearly an individual who we now know is a 21-year-old who goes by the name goes by the name of Ed Diliberto Espinoza Sierra, completely ignoring commands from law enforcement. I'm going to play the video for you. We'll watch it a couple of times. For those that have been in this parking deck, it's going to be very obvious what was going on in this situation. He ignored very clear orders that you'll hear in this video from law enforcement, continued accelerating forward, and it unfortunately led to him losing his life. Here is the viewer-submitted video to WECT. So that's the video that was released by WECT. I'm going to roll it back to the beginning once again and listen in very clearly to what the officers are saying as this blue car is going up or down the wrong direction in this Market Street parking deck. Stop the car. Stop the effing car. You can very clearly see in the video a blue, what looks to be Dodge Charger-ish car skirting around. And this is an interesting portion of the video. I'm going to zoom in on this for those that are watching this live. I want you to see what's going on in this portion of the video. For those that have not been in this parking deck in downtown Wilmington, like most parking decks, you have traffic that goes down one way and up the other. And in the case of this parking deck in downtown Wilmington, those cars travel next to each other. They're not segmented off. There's not, one side goes up, the other side goes down. No, it's two lanes of traffic right next to each other. So you can clearly see at this portion of the video that you have this blue car that was driven by Espinoza Sierra that is going down part of the parking deck, driving the direction in which cars would be coming in. Why is that the case? Well, as you can very clearly see in this video, there is a backlog of cars that are attempting to exit the garage. That is potentially for a couple of different reasons. I'll note Sunday was daylight savings time, so you went from 1 a.m. to final call immediately to 3 o'clock in the morning. And for those that have been downtown on a Friday or Saturday night, very early into the morning, this is a common sight in these parking decks. All the bars close at the same time. Everybody's getting out at the same time. And so typically you end up with some sort of backlog of cars trying to get out of the parking deck. Now, it's not clear whether this backlog was caused because there was just generally traffic of people trying to get out of downtown after hanging out at the bars all night, or if WPD had stopped the flow of traffic while they were conducting this investigation. This is, to me, a relevant part of what was going on during this scene. You have all of these cars, just doing the rough math, having sat in this parking deck God knows how many times trying to get out. There's at least, if we look at this video and extend it to this final down ramp, there's at least probably a dozen and a half, if not 24 cars that are lined up in the lane to exit the parking deck, in which you scan your ticket, you pay, and then you leave. Sometimes there's an attendant there, sometimes there's not. And so you've got Espinosa Sierra driving in the opposite direction. All of these cars are stopped. You can see all the brake lights on these. You've got some sort of, looks like a Toyota Camry, and then some sort of SUV. Red brake lights, they are stopped because they are waiting for the cars in front of them to exit the garage so they can go next. And so then you've got Espinosa Sierra, who is being clearly told by law enforcement to stop, get out of the effing car, stop the effing car, and he then appears to drive down the upward lane of this parking deck. You hear tires screech, you hear what appears to be some sort of collision, and then law enforcement discharging their firearms. This, to me, is a situation that could have been completely avoided. Right here, right at the beginning of this video, if this 21-year-old would have stopped his freaking car as he was told to do by law enforcement, WPD would likely have not drawn their firearms and shot him. And this is the sad, cold reality of so many of these situations. And this, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, is a growing trend, right? We just saw this a couple of months ago in downtown Minneapolis with Renee Pretty, where what did she do? Was very clearly told by members of DHS to stop moving her car. She decided to accelerate her car forward. She was shot and killed by law enforcement. I don't know why this has to be said, but I'm going to say it. If you are instructed by law enforcement to either do or not do something, maybe they instruct you to put your hands up, it would be, at least from my vantage point, if I was in that situation, it would be in my best interest to put my hands up, to comply with their orders. Do what they say. On the other side, if they say to not do something, stop driving your car, stop moving forward, it is in your best interest to follow those commands. And I can't imagine what was going through his mind, not to defame anybody's character, but I mean, leaving the bar at 3:00 in the morning, safe to assume that he had had a couple of drinks. Maybe he was a little bit under the influence, nervous of what everything was going on in the parking deck. He was apparently involved in a knockout fight right before this. He decides to ignore, to completely disobey orders from law enforcement, which results in him crashing his car as WPD officers are clearly telling him to stop. They discharge their firearms. Whether this was a justified shooting or not for me to say. That is what the State Bureau of Investigation is going to do. And of course, there's a whole bunch of legal experts on Facebook that I've read over the last couple of days on the WECT news articles about this, claiming that, a vehicle can't be considered a weapon and you're not allowed to use that against a vehicle. And my reaction to that is, all right, go stand in front of a car moving and tell me whether or not you think that can be used as a weapon and whether that is something that poses a serious threat. You've got a whole bunch of people in this parking deck. You already have somebody who had been shot, right? This is an important part of the equation. You already have somebody who had been shot, rushed to the hospital by EMS. You've got what appears to be a long line of cars trying to exit the garage, whether they're allowed to exit or not, due to the fact that WPD is conducting an investigation is not immediately clear as of this morning. And the end result is somebody tries to drive down the wrong lane of the parking deck, ignoring commands, very clear commands. You can hear them in the video from law enforcement, crashes his car, and then, unfortunately, law enforcement discharge their firearms. They shoot and kill him. And so the family is now speaking out against this, as you would expect. They've lost a loved one. They've lost their 21-year-old son. My goal in this conversation this morning is not to take anything away from that. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I can put myself in that situation. The intention of this is not to disparage the family or try and mock or make fun of this situation. This is, as I'm sure you could imagine, an incredibly emotional thing that is going on. This family has just lost their brother, their son, their cousins, so on and so forth. A very emotional situation. Here is the report from WECT News on the family's reaction.
As you can see, though, Espinoza Sierra didn't comply when they asked him to stop his car.
He should have. He really should have, but that does not mean you got to lose your life.
Now, I'm going to stop that. I believe that was his sister speaking to WECT, and she says, well, he should have, meaning complied with law enforcement. That doesn't mean he should lose his life. And I agree with that. I do. But you also have to understand and wrap your head around the concept. Law enforcement has no idea what this individual is trying to do. They didn't know at the time that he was unarmed. All they knew is that somebody had been just shot in that garage, rushed to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. They are telling a vehicle to stop, and that car is not stopping. Right? Neither side knows the full situation unfolding on the opposite end. So yes, and I'm glad to see his sister saying, yeah, he absolutely should have stopped his car. Saying that it doesn't mean he needs to lose his life, I agree. I mean, driving your car should not automatically equate getting popped by law enforcement. But you also have to understand all of the other circumstances as part of this. You've got a parking garage full of people, and what to police is a maniac completely disobeying orders, driving his car in the wrong direction, and then crashing into another vehicle. That is from my vantage point, I'm not a law enforcement professional, but from my vantage point, you can very clearly see how this can be determined and deemed a public safety threat by law enforcement. More from the clip.
Their description. As you can see, though, Espinoza Sierra didn't comply when they asked him to stop his car.
He should have. He really should have, but that does not mean you got to lose your life.
In the video, Espinoza Sierra speeds up. WPD says he then drove at officers, eventually hitting a car in front of him. That's when they started firing and killing him. Through tears, Espinoza Sierra's family is asking for justice. They say police used excessive force and were inviting as many people as they could on the street to see the video for themselves.
Literally, you hear the tires squeak from him braking.
Police need more training. They do not need to empty 30 clips in a beautiful soul, because that's who he was. He was a beautiful soul. He loved his family, and we all loved him.
All of that is probably true, but to immediately jump to the conclusion that police need more training, again, one of the things that seemingly has evaporated in our society, and I know this is a very emotional case, and I'm being careful with the words that I use. I'm not here to try and defame this family. That is not what I'm going to do. We in this society have seemingly lost the ability to hold people responsible for the things that they do. Do officers need more training on a variety of different things? Maybe. I can't make that claim definitively. I mean, from the individuals that I know that work within the Wilmington Police Department and the New Hanover County Sheriff's Office, they are very high-trained, well-trained, very intelligent individuals. They know what they're doing. They know what they're allowed to do. They know what they're not allowed to do. At the end of the day, they're human. But yes, they have good training. But again, where's the personal accountability in any of this? I'm sorry to say it, but I have to. If you are going to ignore very clear and very direct demands from law enforcement in what is a very volatile situation, this is not just your run-of-the-mill traffic stop. This is somebody getting shot and potentially killed just moments earlier in this exact same parking deck. Police are already on high alert. And if you are going to ignore their orders, I'm sorry, but you are opening yourself up to this. I don't know what has gone wrong in our society where we have groups of people now that seemingly think that they could just ignore commands from law enforcement. We see it all the freaking time. And it's not smart. It's not a good idea. And it unfortunately can lead to situations like this. That's the cold, hard reality of this situation.
Police need more training. They do not need to empty 30 clips in a beautiful soul, because that's who he was. He was a beautiful soul. He loved his family, and we all loved him.
They also shared another video coming to light, one showing Espinoza Sierra knocked out on the ground after a fight minutes before his interaction with police.
All he was thinking about was getting home to us and being with us.
His family says he wasn't in his right mind and was scared.
¿Quién me va a devolver a mi hijo?
Who's gonna give me my son back?
¿Quién me lo va a traer conmigo? ¿Quién me va a quitar este dolor?
But this video isn't the only one that exists. State Bureau of Investigation officials say the officers were wearing body cameras and they're reviewing the footage. I'm told there's no timeline for the investigation to be done, but it'll be months.
Quiero justicia.
I want justice.
Solo eso.
That's all.
Wilmington police say they can't comment while the SBI investigates. And all of the officers involved are on paid administrative leave, which is standard policy. Reporting in downtown Wilmington, JC Caldwell, WECT News.
It's a terrible situation. It's a very sad situation. 21-year-old kid shot and killed by law enforcement. It's a travesty. I would also argue in the same breath, potentially, I would argue in large part, very avoidable. Had he put his car in park when he was instructed to by law enforcement, I don't see a situation in which police draw their weapons, shoot, and kill him. I just don't see that based on all of the other cars that were stopped in that garage, whether they were instructed to stop, probably so, by WPD. Completely avoidable. Completely avoidable. The family is calling for justice. I don't know what that means. I don't know if they assume that means that one if not more of these officers are going to get charged with some sort of manslaughter. There's going to be body camera footage. I think this other footage that WECT had does not paint the best picture for Espinoza. It doesn't paint a good picture of somebody complying with law enforcement. This is a major problem. I mean, it is. And so it's, again, a sad situation, incredibly sad situation, but at the same breath, something I think in large part was avoidable. So God knows when the hell we're going to figure out what exactly is going on here. Under Jeff Jackson's Department of Justice, there's apparently a 6 to 9 month backlog on cases within the State Bureau of Investigation. So that is, a concerning figure in itself. Great comment coming in on our Rumble live chat this morning. If all the officers involved are on administrative leave, who's policing? Isn't there a critical officer shortage? That is a problem. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a good point to be brought up there about, now it's not clear how many officers are on administrative leave. There could be, I don't know. I mean, there was definitely WPD on the scene. We've also been told that there were members of the New Hanover County Sheriff's Office. So it could be some mixture of both individuals that are, or both agencies, I should say, that are in this situation. It's not immediately clear. And unfortunately, I don't think we're going to know what exactly or how many officers were involved in this, probably for a pretty significant period of time. It could be months. There's another comment coming in saying he had a firearm charge in October of 2020 with a court case in December of 2026. I believe that was up in Duplin County. There, 15 months. That's part of the problem with disrespect for law enforcement. There's no immediate consequences. And I mean, I can't put myself in a situation where I would ever think that it is a good idea to actively disobey law enforcement. Now, that is not saying that every single sworn law enforcement officer in the United States of America is the most ethical, above-board individual. This is not to say that there are not bad apples, that there are not individuals that take advantage of the position that they have as law enforcement and use it, essentially weaponize it. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about a rogue cop on a traffic stop being a complete a-hole and just going on a power trip. We're talking about what looks in that video, potentially dozens of law enforcement officers in and around the scene of an active crime investigation where somebody was just shot and you were told by them to stop moving your car. And you chose not to do that. This comes back to a larger problem I believe we have in our society right now, which is the lack of personal responsibility. The lack of individuals feeling like they can do, frankly, whatever the hell they want with no repercussion. And we have seen high-profile cases. I'll go back to the DHS shooting in Minneapolis, Minnesota earlier this year. Another avoidable situation. And I know that there's a lot of political polarization around that situation in particular. But again, had the individual driving that car, when was told by DHS to stop driving, had she put her car in park instead of trying to flee the scene, there is a very strong likelihood she would not be shot and killed. And I would make the exact same argument in this situation in downtown Wilmington and many other officer-involved shootings. And it's something that there's got to be a change with that, because these things are only going to continue to happen when people feel like they can just ignore orders from law enforcement. You can try, you might get away with it, you might also get shot and killed. That's the very cold, hard reality of these situations, ladies and gentlemen. I don't say that lightly. I'm not in favor of people being shot and killed, whether it's from other individuals on the street or by law enforcement. I'm not a fan of people dying. I'm not a fan of death and destruction. I don't get off on that. It's sad. It's miserable. Every single time we see a story like this. Every single time. But where is the personal accountability? Where is the personal responsibility? His family says he probably wasn't in his right mind. Okay. Fine. That very well may be true. We'll never find out. Very well may be true. Doesn't give you carte blanche to ignore orders from law enforcement. So this investigation is ongoing. It is going to be potentially months, 6-9 months before we learn additional details from law enforcement. Now, that in this same situation, an individual has been charged with the actual shooting that took place, and lo and behold, it is somebody illegally in the United States. A Wallace man has been charged in connection with that shooting that happened inside the Wilmington parking deck. Again, just to make sure I'm explaining this situation, somebody was shot inside the parking deck. That individual was rushed to the hospital. Police did not immediately know who was responsible for said shooting. That's why they were essentially canvassing the garage. The officer-involved shooting happened after the other shooting took place. According to arrest warrants, an individual by the name of Rafael Martinez, who's 22 years old, was arrested on March the 8th and has been charged with felony assault with a deadly weapon with the intent to kill or inflict serious injury. An order after receipt of an ICE detainer and administrative warrant was also filed against Martinez. So you've got an ICE detainer that was filed back on March 9th. The warrant states that he must be kept in custody and can only be released under the following conditions: the passage of 48 hours from the time the prisoner would otherwise be released, Immigration and Customs Enforcement of the United States Department of Homeland Security takes custody, or the detainer is rescinded by ICE and DHS. WPD says that Martinez shot a 26-year-old in the parking deck of the 100 block of Market Street, where the individual who was shot was transported to the hospital. While responding to the shooting, as we were just talking about, officers approached a nearby vehicle where they believed that a suspect could be present. That is where the video and the conversation we just had took place. There was another court appearance scheduled for March the 26th for this 22-year-old Martinez, who does have an ICE detainer over his head. It is not immediately clear if DHS, if ICE is going to jump in and get involved in this situation, or what we know that they levied the detainer. There could be questions about his immigration status. So we're going to keep a close eye on that. He currently has a $300,000 secure bond. It's not clear. I have not seen a press release or any additional details from DHS or ICE, whether they have taken custody of this individual or not, whether there will be other federal charges as it relates to illegal migration into the United States or overstaying a visa. There's a plethora of different things, of course, that ICE and DHS investigates in these situations. So we'll keep an eye on those details and bring you additional coverage as soon as we get it right here on the Nick Craig Show. In some other things we're tracking this morning, severe weather potential across southeastern North Carolina, a low risk. Temperatures are set to plummet as we go through the afternoon and evening hours today. We do have a marginal risk of severe weather. Taking a look at radar, there are some storms that are out in the Charlotte area, or moving towards the Charlotte area now. Of course, these storms are moving west to east, and you can see these the storms just moving out of the mountains right now. They will continue out of the mountains and push their way east. This red area that you're seeing for those watching live, this is a tornado watch that remains in effect until 1 p.m. Would not expect that tornado watch to be extended our area. I guess it is possible. Taking a look at this, there are a couple of tornado warnings down in portions of Georgia and actually all of Georgia right now, a couple of different tornado warnings. So as we head into the early afternoon or mid-afternoon, early evening hours, there is a possibility that we do see some strong to potentially even severe weather here across southeastern North Carolina. Temperatures are going to plummet after this, according to the latest forecast from WECT News. Temperatures will get down into the upper 30s tonight with this cold front moving forward. The high temperature, or the low temperature tonight, is 37 degrees. Temperatures will rebound a little bit through your day on Friday, mid to upper 60s, and temperatures will remain warm for the next couple of days before they kind of go back and forth, even some cold snaps as we head into St. Patrick's Day early next week as well. We do also have another risk of potential severe weather coming up on Monday. The Storm Prediction Center has portions of North and South Carolina up towards D.C. under the possibility of some severe weather for your Monday ahead of another cold front that's going to plummet temperatures leading into, St. Patrick's Day on Tuesday. So a couple of things to keep an eye on the forecast front. Of course, we continue to keep an eye on some national news as well. The ongoing conflict between the United States and Iran does rage on this morning. Some other interesting details as it relates to that. The Trump administration set to release some 172 million barrels of oil from the strategic reserve. This is as gas prices continue to skyrocket across the country over the last week and a half, 2 weeks or so. So we'll see what these 172 million barrels do. Questions still remain about how exactly Venezuela plays into all of this. The United States trying to build a partnership with that country after the capture of Nicolas Maduro earlier this year. It is. I asked this question earlier this week, or maybe it was late last week. When does Venezuela play into all of this? You've got a large strategic oil reserve in that country. The United States is providing some support and needs to get some of that gas or some of that oil, whether it's refined or not, here to the shore on the into the Gulf Coast, and get some of that either processed or thrown into pipelines so that it can be delivered to gas stations across the U.S. Gas prices across North Carolina up some 80 cents over the last week. Diesel prices up nearly $1.50, which is going to immediately cause prices to soar and skyrocket at the grocery stores. A lot going on. We're keeping an eye on all the details right here on the Nick Craig Show. I want to thank the Law Group here in Wilmington for their continued support and remind you that when legal challenges arise, make sure you put your trust in the Law Group. Since 2003, their experienced attorneys have provided high-quality, affordable legal services across eastern North Carolina, whether you're facing a divorce, navigating a real estate transaction, or maybe you're in a position where you need a strong defense. If so, the Law Group has your back. Their dedicated team ensures your questions are answered and issues are resolved as quickly as possible. Great news, ladies and gentlemen. They're located in downtown Wilmington and just a phone call away at 910-251-6088, or you can visit them online at lawgroupnc.com. Give them a call, 910-251-6088, or online, lawgroupnc.com. It's the Law Group. Experience and dedication you can rely on. We appreciate the Law Group and their continued support of the Nick Craig Show. Well, that's going to do it for a Thursday edition. Don't forget that you can catch the show weekday mornings live, 7 a.m., YouTube, Rumble, X, and Facebook. You can also check it out 24/7 in your favorite podcast app and hear it most weeknights, 9 to 10 p.m. on WBT Radio in Charlotte. Preempted tonight due to the UNC basketball game. That's going to do it for a Thursday edition. We'll round out the week tomorrow morning right here on The Nick Craig Show.